Radio has for years been used as a means to disseminate information to people from a singular source. It is seen as a hallmark to the concept of free speech, as it allowed for any one person or entity to share their ideas with the masses at a moment's notice. On this InfoHub Extended, we take a look at the explosion of radio operators post-2015.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
You after 12. Right now what we want to do is groove you into the program with some really good music. So turn those radios up wherever it is that you're listening to us from, whatever it is that you're doing. Enjoy our company, and we'll be back to Gav with you in just a bit here on the Lunchtime Gav.
Radio in Guyana surrounds us, is part of our everyday lives. We hear it in the minibus, our offices, and when at home. And with streaming, we can even listen to it on our mobile phones. Because of its ability to influence many people, radio in Guyana has not been free from political meddling. Licenses to operate and the best frequencies were reserved for those who proved themselves loyal to the government of the day. For the past 2 decades, applications by new parties to be granted license gathered dust while others continue to operate despite being in arrears for fees. However, in 2015, following the assumption to office of the APNU-AFC government, the Guyana National Broadcast Authority was finally allowed to do its work. The authority wasted no time in getting all the previous errant broadcasters relying on favors from the previous administration back in line, thus making tremendous strides in normalizing and regularizing of the broadcast industry, finally allowing for development of the industry to begin.
We've seen some development in the broadcast sector between 2015 and now, and particularly too, since this board is in operation, we've been able to do a lot of work in stabilizing and normalizing the industry. Before the period in question, there were just about 41 or 42 licensed radio operators. If I may be a little more specific, only about 42 licenses were granted. After that period, between 2017 to present, 101 licenses were issued. What we sought to do in that period is to bring up to date those persons who were in arrears. They weren't granted licenses because of their arrears, and we've had dialogue with operators. We've worked out contracts and payment schedules, and so they started to come in. And of course, we had to remind some of them of the legal consequences of non-compliance, which we were also repeating in this year, because there are some broadcasters who still have not fully honored their obligations to the authority. And soon we will be publishing a list of names of compliant and fully licensed broadcasters. I say fully licensed because some persons would have received licenses for 2018, but not 2019. And they are on air. But a person whose license has expired and continues to broadcast is doing so illegally. If therefore a broadcaster's license is expired and he doesn't have a new one for 2019, that means he has not paid his license's fees, or he's still in arrears for many years going back, because we will not issue a license for 2019 while there is a backlog existing. You have to clear your backlog. So if you come in and you pay, then that payment would go towards the backlog. You still owe for 2019. So there are a couple of them who are in that category. If they don't put themselves in order, because we're giving grace periods and we're working out things with our broadcasters, because remember, GNBA is more interested in developing the sector rather than penalizing persons. But there comes a time when you have to draw the line.
Daddy! An industry that was basically monopolized by pro-government sympathizers would now be open to all players regardless of race, background, or political standing. If you could afford it and you reach the necessary requirements, you are allowed to have your vision shared on the national airwaves. This was a dream that no man wanted more than Chandra Narang Sharma, better known as CN Sharma.
Known for his pioneering of television in Ghana, CN had a bigger dream. He wanted to venture into radio. However, he was overly critical of the then administration and often found his equipment seized in an effort to keep him off air. Mr. Sharma, now 71, has survived 3 strokes, which has severely inhibited his ability to speak fluently, leaving his wife, Savitri Singh Sharma, to speak instead.
My name is Savitri Singh Sharma. I'm Mrs. Sharma, and this is Chandra Narang Sharma, and we are from CNS Television Channel 6. We've been in the broadcasting field for about 27 years now. I think we are celebrating 27 years of being on the air. And now that we've been granted the license for radio. The radio is, the signal is 105.1 FM. It's a dream a long dream over the years that has finally come true for CN. Because when we first entered broadcasting in TV, we applied for a radio. And probably destiny was not there for us. We did not get it until about 25 years after, or 27. So it's been a long road, but then circumstances are now changed. Circumstances are different. And so you find so many radio licenses have been given out. It's a time when it's probably difficult to make radio into a viable situation, a viable business. But we're happy. We're contented that we have it, and we're going to give it our best shot.
CN Sharma, overcome with emotion at finally achieving his dreams, was on the verge of tears. Nevertheless, his wife continued.
We kept up the correspondence with the then government, and they in turn replied to us. So we have all those letters and you know, writing to and from them. And all we were being told was the time is not ripe yet for it.
Not ripe yet.
At one time, we were told that when Hoyt and Jagdev's agreement, when they decided on that agreement between them, then they will think about issuing of license. And then all of a sudden, we heard that licenses were being given out to others.
By now, Mr. Sharma became vocal about the way he was treated, recalling the many times he was shut down by the then government. When he finished venting, Mr. Sharma presented the letters they would have sent dating back as far as the year 2000.
Sometimes they never replied.
Never replied.
Sometimes we would get a reply, but it said nothing.
What the problem is, they want closing station. They want the closing station. That they promote one position now.
The previous administration.
That one position.
Well, we know how the politics work, and CN was no friend of the past government. I don't know for what reason, because he had this way of trying to bring out what is happening in certain areas and how people are suffering in certain things. I think that did not sit well with the present government. Not this government, the past.
Yeah.
And so they tried to belittle him. They tried to smear his character. They did many things to him. But we all know that at the end of the day, he surfaced and he rose. And I think at one time they were even trying to say, well, get me to put a wedge between us. So, because they felt that I was his support.
Okay.
So they wanted to break that support away.
A brief perusal of the many letters sent painted a vivid picture of the royal runaround Mr. Sharma would have had to go through before his dream was made a reality, thanks to the current administration.
Radio in itself has many forms, and one such form that a particular news station wishes to revive is talk radio. They had been waiting 20 years to be granted a license, and now that they have got one, they are wasting no time.
Boasting of a colourful cast of hosts and gripping conversations throughout the day along with groovy music, Voice FM is adamant that although they are new to the radio scene, they will be the ones to leave an indelible mark.
We have an influx of radio stations. We are now, a lot of them are in the testing stages. A lot of them are now getting accustomed to being radio in Guyana. I think we are one of them, and there are a few who have been around for a little while. The competition right now is mainly not necessarily of who has the best music or who has the best people on the radio, who has the best personalities. Is more or less about who knows which station. Which station is more has been more out there, which station is more established, has been around. We talk radio. And as our logo says, the conversation starts here, and the conversation does start here. We're not afraid to talk about anything, and we have no affiliations. We're affiliated neither with the government nor with the opposition. We are free. Our management, well, our boss, because I'm management, gives us that leeway or that freedom to say and do whatever we please once we don't get him soon. But we're free to comment on any situation that's going on. We're free to give an opinion on it, and we don't take sides. We pride ourselves on being neutral.
This in itself is a major achievement for media in Guyana, because this very stance of speaking freely was what saw people like CN Sharma being hassled by the previous administration. Persons who opted to defy the then government of the day or to vocalize and speak about the ills of the administration were targeted and marked, oftentimes made to be at the receiving end of trumped-up charges and accusations.
The lack of diversification in the broadcast industry also starved local artists from being able to have a platform to showcase their talent. It is against this backdrop that we journey to another fresh, new, exciting radio station, still high on finally being granted their license.
On the forefront of promoting local artists and work was Brutal Tracks Recording Studio, a production company that catered to Guyanese musical talents, giving them access to a professional studio since the early 2000s. They too had a dream, to push local content even further, and for this they created an online radio stream. However, they had ambitions for something greater, to be able to operate their own radio station.
I am Christian Duncan, CEO, Brutal Group Inc. I'm now in charge of Mod97. Radio has been an expansion of our original business of Brutal Tracks Recording Studio, and it's now our distribution arm, the arm where we bring people in contact with the music and celebrities that we produce. Well, we come from the background of Guyanese music. We are from 2006 been producing artists and Guyanese content. So this investment allows us to package and take that content to the masses, both at home and in the diaspora.
Brutal Recording Studio was the place to be for many a young local artist and was the starting point for a lot of the great local performers we have today. But they too faced their struggle in trying to score a coveted radio license.
We built an internet radio station in 2010, around the Carifesta period. We petitioned the government with many letters, Dr. Raja Lanchan, the President, Mr. Dharamlal, so forth. So we've been waiting from about 2010. Unfortunately, we were overlooked when the then President gave out licenses. Even then, we continued to write and ask to be recognized for our investment and what we were already doing. That fell on deaf ears.
Luckily, these stories now have happy endings, but for years, these new broadcasters were at the mercy of an administration that punished free speech in the hardest ways possible. Radio is now a staple in the lives of many Guyanese, especially the working class. And with recent policies and the granting of various licenses, we are beginning to see an explosion into rural and hinterland communities. Radio stations have thus far been established in Mabaruma, Oriala, Bartica, Madhya, Aishaltan and Letem, with a few others slated for this year. The GNBA has even incorporated into their future plans policies to push for community radio, and according to Chairman of the GNBA, Leslie Sobers, it is admirable the efforts made by the National Communications Network in ensuring those outlying communities are able to be connected.
We have not yet started to push the idea of community radio, but that's one of the things we will be working on in 2019. One of the policies we will be rolling out to get the community radios up and running. Because the concept of community radio is a little different from what NCN is doing, for example. NCN, and I must say that they have made some really good strides in creating accessibility to radio by persons in the far-flung areas. So Bartica and Mabaruma and those places that now have extensions of NCN have access to communication and information that they did not have before 2015. A lot of that has been done, and that's quite admirable.
Mad FM, Voice FM and CNS Radio are just a few of the entities to be granted licenses and have established themselves since then. Over the coming months, we will be seeing more and more stations coming into the spotlight as radio in Guyana is finally allowed to have a faucet for free speech. This brings us to the end of another InfoHub Extended. Do join us again. Goodbye.